Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Macro Talk. It is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. If anybody didn't know that last part, you're in trouble. Anyway, interesting week ahead. We're going to do some navel gazing this evening. We're going to look at some of the personality attributes of great photographers and some of the characteristics of great photographs, because they're the same things, and they all begin with the letter P. And it's going to be fun, and hopefully give you some pointers how to take even better pictures. Thursday, I'm going to completely break from what we're doing tonight and talk about something very interesting to me. I guess it's precision and accuracy in photography, specifically in the kind of high magnification stuff we do. It comes from building these things and trying to test them to make sure that they're operating at a level of accuracy that is sufficient to do the job. And in the process, I've discovered some interesting things about precision. So we're going to talk about that on Thursday. Saturday is After Stack number 24. And because Bud's going to be out, he's not joining us. He's got some more important stuff to do. We will be making it up as we go along. So bring some pictures and an attitude, and we'll do some editing and talk about stuff. We'll just wing it this weekend because I haven't had a chance to think about what we should do. If I do, I'll let you know. The stereo competition ends at midnight on Saturday, which is why Diane is working on her picture tonight. You can even bring your pictures on Saturday if you want to kind of get some pointers. If you're having trouble editing them or want to make a triptych or something, bring them on Saturday and we'll do them in After Stack. It's going to take a couple of days for me to get all of the pictures organized and set up for viewing and to get them over to Mr. Littlefield to look at them. I imagine it will be next Wednesday before we actually do the judging, which means it will probably be Friday before I release the video. So it'll be a slightly longer wait than usual, but just bear with me on that. It's going to be well worth the wait because you remember the last time. Rick did a 2.5-hour video where he basically gave you a free masterclass in stereo photography. I mean, everything you could ever want to know, he covered it in that critique. I imagine we'll get something similar this time. I'm really looking forward to it. The June competition starts on Sunday, and it'll run for the month of June, and it is a wild card macro competition. Anything you want to send in that is macro, that's good. And if you have won in the past, you no longer have a restriction on how many submissions you can put in. So you can put in your full complement of 2 pictures. Everybody can. So it'll make it more interesting. Now, what's going to be particularly interesting in June is I'm going to be judging the competition with a new judge, my friend Cindy, who is an AI assistant, and I've trained her. She's now looked at every competition we've done, and every entry, and every comment by every judge, and she's now a genius at it, and is going to judge this competition. And then when the results video comes out, I'm going to give you my results and her results, and we'll see how they match up. It'll be fun. I really am looking forward to that. That was an idea that my friend Mike Canfer gave me, and he's never given me a bad idea, so I'm looking forward to this. Details on the upcoming visit of Mr. Lester Lefkowitz are going to be forthcoming before you know it. I haven't had a chance to talk to him this week, but we're trying to set up a visit so that he can tell you how he does his Lightroom cataloging. And yeah, you'll be glad you attended that because he knows what he's doing. All right, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about several things, but most importantly, a few attributes that some photographers have, other photographers don't. And this all stemmed from when I was training to be a physician. In fact, when I was training to be a fully qualified surgeon, one of my surgery attendings gave me a list of attributes that were important. It was 3 A's in this case. It was, what was it? Ability, affability, and availability. And I loved that saying because it turned out to be very, very true. He said the most important of them, by the way, is availability. You don't have to be good at surgery and you don't have to be nice, but if you're available, you'll be busy. Well, I was nice and I was good, but I was also available, and it does make a difference. This is going to be kind of like that, except initially I was only going to talk about two of these P's. I was going to talk about the whole concept of purpose in photography, and then I was going to link that to planning and how important it is not just to have a why we're taking photographs, but how we're going to take the photographs. And it didn't feel right with me. I was going to talk about it in the Zoom meeting this last weekend, and time got away from us. I never got to bring it up again. And in the process of thinking about it afterwards, I thought this was very much like constructing a two-legged stool. It's never going to be a very successful stool with just two legs. You need at least three. And this third leg that occurred to me was presence. Now, I've never read this. I've never seen anybody discuss these particular attributes together as one, but I think they're so important and so crucial to getting good photographs that we're going to talk about them as a group. Now, because of the way my brain works, ever since I started planning this talk, I started thinking about all the other P words that could just as easily have been in this stack. And I'm going to tell you all of them as we go along, because I love the letter P, and they're brilliant words, and I think every single one of them is apt, but we'll get to them in a minute. At the heart of this conversation is the idea of purpose and presence and what those two things mean. We all know what planning means, and I will talk about it in just a minute. I'm also going to show you how having not enough of these attributes is detrimental, but also having too much of any one of these can also be detrimental. So this is all about balance. And this is stuff that I have learned in the years I've been doing this, and I've learned it from other photographers who are at the top of their game. So there's some, I think there's something in this, but purpose and presence are two very different concepts. One is what we want to achieve, what we want to find, what we want to photograph, what we want to show. And the other, presence, is what actually happens. It's like in the army. You have all these plans and none of them ever work out. And that's that tension between what we want to do and what we find when we go out to do it is where art comes from. And I believe that quite strongly. So we're going to talk about that in that context. I'm going to give you a quote to see if anybody out there is familiar with this quote or this person. I'm not going to tell you his name. I'm going to ask you what his name is. Be still with yourself until the object of your attention affirms your presence. Does that make sense to you? Be still with yourself. Be receptive. Listen. Look. Have no preconceived notions about what you're going to do, but it's waiting for the subject that you're wanting to photograph to accept you as part of the world. It's like becoming part of the scene, not just recording it. It doesn't lend itself very well to a lot of the stuff that we do, but to some of it does. And when you get in the right frame of mind, that's the kind of magic that people come across. This was Minor White that wrote that, and he was into Zen Buddhism and a lot of other stuff, but he put it to work very nicely in his photography, and he very much believed that the real skill in photography was being receptive to what was out there. And that's what I mean by presence. I mean being present. When you have the camera and you're outdoors, it's actually meaning that you're there. You are ready to absorb whatever you find, whether it meets with your plans or not. And when you're in that position to receive what is coming, you can take some of the best pictures you ever did. We tend to take less interesting pictures when we're just hell bent on getting the pictures that we plan to get. And oftentimes that just doesn't work that way. But we'll talk about it. So the purpose, the first of the three P's that we're talking about tonight is knowing why you are taking the photograph. Have you ever thought about it like that? The purpose for you to pack up your bag and head out into the woods and look for that slime mold has a purpose to it. And knowing what that purpose is, knowing what the why is of your photography, is going to give you the intellectual and the emotional motivation to do a good job at it. If you're trying to, for example, tell a story about the natural history of a slime mold, then you have a purpose, and what you do will hinge on how you want to present that natural history. If you're documenting the decay of something, then you have a purpose, and the why of your photography is to tell that story and to show people what that means. For a lot of us macro photographers, the real magic is highlighting the beauty that we see because we're looking for it, that other people don't even know about. And that is, I think, a wonderful purpose to have. But there are some practical things that we can do as human beings that can focus our purpose and clarify our purpose so that we're more in touch with what we're doing. And this is definitely a good way to start out a day of shooting. But writing down one sentence on a notepad on your desk. I keep these little yellow notepads on my desk, and I do actually do this. I write down a statement to myself about what my shoot is today, what it is I'm trying to accomplish. There's something about writing things down that helps solidify it and condense it inside your head. You can think about stuff and it's just gone, or it is when I think about it. But when you write something down, it uses a different part of your brain and it will stick with you during that shoot. You can make some kind of a thematic challenge to yourself that's in keeping with the purpose of this shoot so that you remain focused on it. There are all kinds of tricks to trick your brain into remembering why you're out there. But another thing that you can do is look at your previous work, especially the successful work, and ask yourself, what was my purpose then? If you can understand your purpose looking at your back catalogue, then you'll have a much clearer view of what your purpose is on today's shoot. If you have too little purpose, what tends to happen is you get this creative drift where everything suddenly looks kind of interesting and you're photographing willy-nilly. And there's nothing wrong with that in small measure. But when you're not carrying a purpose in your camera bag with you, it gets very easy to wander all over the place. And I know that some of you have done this. I've done it a million times. You come home, you offload your card, and you see this mixture of photographs that are technically okay, but they're disjointed and they're all over the place. That's typical for me. And it leads to an incoherent body of work. I mean, not that you necessarily have to have a coherent body of work, but having some coherence, I think, is something that humans strive for. Sometimes when our work is scattered, when we don't have purpose, there is a a lack of emotional or intellectual depth to our work. It all seems very superficial, like showing off how technically talented we are, which is kind of not the point at all. Not to me, anyway. And another thing that happens when we have no clear purpose is our editing tends to become very mechanical, very routine, and we don't really use our editing to finish the job for the purpose we went out and took the pictures for, because that will inform how we edit the pictures. It'll inform how we show the pictures ultimately. So editing is an important part, and if we find ourselves kind of all over the place with our edits, it often means we didn't have a clear purpose when we started out. The worst thing I think that can happen when we just go out there without purpose is the people who look at our pictures say something like, "Well, yeah, it's a nice picture, but what were you getting at? What's the story? What am I supposed to feel when I look at it?" Because if we don't feel when we take the picture, people aren't going to feel it when they look at it. I promise. So that's when there's too little purpose. How about too much purpose? This is a double-edged sword, as they would say. If you have so much purpose that you become rigid in your thinking, then everything either fits that narrative or you don't see it. And that flies in the face of the third P we're going to be talking about. It's a kind of conceptual rigidity. If we're too fixed in what we're going out there to do, sometimes we don't do anything at all. And sometimes, and I'm guilty of this too, you can force or try to force meaning into images that don't fit with the meaning. You see what I'm saying? You're so determined to create a piece of work that is consistent with your purpose for being there, and it just doesn't fit. It's the wrong picture because you were overly rigid, and we have a tendency to become a little bit self-righteous when we're overly focused on our purpose. A purpose is a good thing to have, but we have to use it as just part of the formula. And you don't ever want your subjects to become kind of servants to your ideas. You still need to be receptive to what's going on around you to get the best pictures. So a healthy purpose is kind of something you'd use as an emotional, intellectual compass to find your way through the shoot, and know what you're there for. You have a clear intent, but it doesn't smother spontaneity. If something interesting comes along that contributes to the story, you have a healthy purpose, you are going to have a much more balanced, coherent, readable portfolio of pictures. And now's a good time to start, because you can't replace that. If your body of work tells this story, then you've succeeded. And it kind of gives the viewer something to grasp onto when they say they saw one of your pictures and they knew it was what you've all seen. Klaus Gloy's pictures, some of the most remarkable outdoor macro photographs I've seen in years and years and years. He has a coherent body of work because he has a purpose in his photography, and it just so shows. And giving us, the viewers, a way to grasp what he's doing is what purpose is all about, and he's nailed it. What about planning? Planning is kind of obvious, but it's still worth mentioning a couple of things. It's the how of taking the picture. It's the gear, the location, the lighting, the timing, the time of day, the time of the year, everything that goes into pre-visualizing your shot. And that can be as simple as planning to go out before the sun comes up so that you can find insects that are covered in dew. I don't have a single picture of an insect covered in dew because I refuse to get up at that time in the morning. So that's just that's my failure of planning. But you definitely, there's a lot to be said for using uh, the knowledge that our group, our society has. You know, we've got ways of knowing what the weather's going to be like, right? We can talk to people. We can look at the weather forecast. We know where the plants may be that are going to harbor our insects of choice. See, I do this all the time. I plan a day where we've got some overcast, and I find out where the particular plant I'm looking for is most in flower. I don't know if you remember, I did a series of videos on ambush bugs, which I absolutely love. Ambush bugs, and they're hard to find unless you can find the right bushes, the goldenrod, which are everywhere where I lived. But planning it so that I know that I would be in the middle of the biggest field of goldenrod at the best time of day, and I got some of the best ambush bug pictures I've ever got because I was ready. I was ready because I took advantage of all the acquired wisdom that we have to know when you need to be out there. So building a checklist. I mean, this is all very basic stuff, and I know you already do it, but it's nice to mention it formally. Having a checklist that you go through to make sure that you've got the right equipment for the conditions and everything you need to be comfortable and productive when you're out there. There's nothing worse, nothing, absolutely nothing worse than getting outside with your camera and your flash and everything's ready to go, and you don't have a card in the camera, or you don't have batteries in the flash. I wish I had never done either of those, but I have done them both with regularity, and it absolutely destroys the the mood that I need to be in to take good pictures when I'm out there, which is a mood of being receptive and listening and looking and feeling what's going on. If I'm yelling at myself for leaving the card at home, then yeah, that's not going to happen. So having a checklist and a flexible bag. This is important. Part of being open to the best pictures is having the bits and bobs you need to take those pictures. Now, that doesn't mean you have to take everything in your studio. It means you have a smart way to open up new options, maybe a second lens or some diffusion material or some colored backgrounds. For us, it's fairly straightforward, but you can plan for that, and we talk about that quite a bit. I've done several videos on how I pack my bag for a day out in the woods. And yeah, if you do that carefully and you do it the same way every time, then when something does come along, you aren't caught out without the right equipment. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going out to scout locations without a camera. Um, I seldom go without a camera at all, but I'll usually just go with a cell phone. If I've got, for example, two or three places I think would be good for a particular shoot that I have in mind, I'll go out with my cell phone and I'll just walk around and I'll look and I'll take some notes, take a few snapshots with the phone, and plan when I'm going back to be ready for what I found. And that allows you to pre-visualize your lighting setups, whether or not you're going to use bounce cards or colored backgrounds or a diffusion layer, whatever it is you want to do. You'll know where it is and how you're going to set it up because you've seen the place. Obviously, this doesn't work if you have to fly to that place. I mean, we're talking about if it's fairly close to where you already are, and that's great. So if you have not enough planning, as is often the case with me, you get a little or a lot of chaos depending on what happens, and you almost always miss opportunities, whether it's missing opportunities to take any pictures at all because you left your camera bag at home, or missing the opportunity that comes up unexpectedly because you didn't plan for the unexpected. So showing up at a site that looked like it was pretty cool on Google Earth, only to find that it's full of poison ivy or something is another thing. You want to be ready so that you don't either end up just having a lousy day with complications, or you miss opportunities for good things. Showing up at the wrong time of day. I've done this too. Have somewhere that's got a absolutely gorgeous layout for the insects I'm going after, only to discover when I get there that it's actually east facing, and it's pitch dark by the time I get there, and all the good lights on the other side of the hill. So, knowing that you've got the right time of day, right location, right weather. And there's nothing worse, as my students want to tell me, than being overwhelmed when you're out in the field to take pictures, and you get this kind of paralysis from not being prepared and not knowing how you're going to set things up, to just being saturated. And when that happens, it is very, very difficult to take good photographs. So there's a lot to be said for thinking about it ahead of time, knowing what your initial setup's going to be like, and having that ready to go. Don't get overwhelmed. You'll just waste a lot of energy and waste a lot of time. If you have too much planning, on the other hand, and I have some friends who tend to do rather a lot of planning, you can become so dependent on perfect conditions, perfect time of day, perfect light, that you become paralyzed and you don't take any pictures at all. Now, I know a couple of landscape photographers, and they're very, very good, but it's not too uncommon. In fact, one of them's fairly famous. Thomas Heaton is an English landscape photographer, a very, very fine photographer, and an altogether nice chap, I understand. But I've seen some of his videos where he goes out early in the morning, drives halfway across the country, and spends the day up on the mountain and doesn't take a picture because the light wasn't right. Well, there's something commendable about that, but there's something irritating about it too. I mean, I would not like to think I was paralyzed by too much preparation, and I'd find something to photograph while I was up there. Anyway, um, flexibility is a very key part to this thing of photography, especially when animals are involved. So keeping yourself flexible and being prepared to be flexible is a mindset, and you can do it. I think that creativity is what goes out the window when we overplan anything, from a gathering at your house to my brother's 70th birthday is coming up in a few weeks. I shouldn't have said his age. That was poor taste on my part. He's an old fella, and anyways, his birthday's coming up, and I'm going over to celebrate it with him. And yeah, every minute of the thing is planned. And it's going to make doing anything creative a little difficult. So that's nothing to do with photography, though I will probably take a picture of his party. So healthy planning is readiness without rigidity. It's having everything you need for what's probably going to happen, and being receptive for things not working out that way. So you come equipped for what you're planning to do, but you're also open-minded if things change. You've made decisions about the light, the location, and the gear, but if it doesn't work out, you've got enough stuff with you and enough experience in your head that you can make the best of it. That's what the kind of planning I'm talking about is. Planning supports your intention to do what you're going to do, and it doesn't override it or replace it. It helps you reach your goal. So what about presence? Presence is the mindset in which you can receive what's going on around you. Now, I am not particularly good at this. I tend to either spend a lot of time worrying about things that have already happened, or worrying about things that might happen in the future, in the next 10 minutes, or the weather, the light, whatever, and to a greater or lesser extent missing what's actually going on right now in front of me. And it is that awareness and sense of what's actually happening around me that is what I think of as being in kind of like a flow state. I'm sure that, have you ever gone out to take pictures and told your significant other that you'd be back in an hour, and showed up back at the house 14 hours later? That is the kind of thing that from time to time will afflict me when I just become so immersed in what I'm doing and so present in the moment that I become unaware of other things going on, like my schedule or dinner or where I was supposed to be. And I will take pictures and just be immersed in the moment as long as it lasts. I think of that as a kind of flow state, and that is largely what I'm talking about, is being so in tune with what you're out there to do that you no longer have a conscious awareness of it. You're just doing it. You're totally in it, and it makes you receptive to the happy accidents, to serendipity. When you are totally focused on nature and what you're looking at and what you're photographing, then when this beautiful butterfly comes by, you are right where you need to be to get the best possible picture of it you can, because you're present in the moment. You're not worrying about the weevil you couldn't find, or the bee that stung you. You're concerned only about what presents itself to you. And gosh, it's openness or receptiveness, call it what you want. It is not easy to accomplish. It is some people have a better time with it than others. Usually people who practice some kind of discipline, like martial arts and things like that, who are very good at getting into the moment. Mindfulness folks, or people that meditate. But for the rest of us who just have non-stop chattering brains, it can be difficult, but it can also be done. And the good examples of this would be if you're sitting in a bush. I like to sit in bushes when I'm photographing pollinators. I actually get inside the bush and just stick my camera out and wait for them to come by. And they always do. But one of the things that will clue me into the fact that I am receptive to what's going on is if I'm paying attention to what the assassin bug is doing as it crawls over the leaves in search of its dinner. Paying attention to that and not just blankly waiting for the pollinator of my choice to show up is an example of being open to what's happening. And even better than this is seeing, like, something totally unrelated, seeing an abstract composition that you can pull out of a cobweb or a drop of water or a piece of ice. This is when you know you're absolutely in the right place. When you're walking down the footpath to go find your weevils, and you see a cobweb that's just glistening in the sun, and you can immediately see the composition you want, and you have the equipment because you did the planning, and you take a great picture. And you may not get a picture of the weevil, or you may have hundreds of weevil pictures, but that cobweb will probably be the one you remember. So this is important stuff. So I like to leave room in all of my outings for a little snooping around. When I used to do a lot of my photography down at a series of parks near where I lived, and I'd go there oftentimes in the evening and plan to shoot for about 3 hours. but I always left a little bit of time before it got dark to just go poke around a place I hadn't looked at before, a row of bushes or something on the beach. And it's very important to me to do that. I hated to have to rush to get back to the car when everything I went to photograph has been done. I like to have that little bit of extra time. This is going to sound a bit hokey, and if you're not into meditation or mindfulness or anything like that, you probably will think this is a bit ridiculous. But before going out into the field and getting stuck in with a day of really productive photography, there's a lot to be said for just taking 5 minutes and chilling and just breathing and looking at nature and just taking it in, soaking it in, not thinking about anything really, just being in the moment helps a lot. Helps a lot for me anyway. Um, it just kind of gets you attuned to what's going on. You'll see things more clearly. Another practical thing that you can do, and when I was told this years ago, I thought it was ridiculous, but I do it now to this day, is I will go out with at least one lens that I don't like, a lens that I have trouble working with, a lens that maybe it's not very sharp, or it has all kinds of aberrations, or it can be anything, but you don't like it. If you give yourself 10 minutes to shoot something with that lens, it will make you a better photographer, I promise. There is nothing quite like being challenged by a piece of equipment that is not in your comfort zone. It it kind of forces you to look at things differently, and you'll look at the pictures you get differently too. And some of them can be absolutely amazing. I've got a lot of photographs like that were taken with a wide angle lens that I just would never take out for anything else. Yet I used to go take a couple of pictures with that every time I went out. It's not a bad practice. And the other thing that I alluded to earlier is sometimes it's perfectly acceptable to go out and look at stuff without photographing it, just to know more about it, just to see it, experience it, and use what you learn as part of your planning for when you do go to take pictures of it. I do that. Uh, well, with my bad knee, I do it less than I used to, but I love to go out in the woods and just walk and look at stuff and kind of make a mental map for when I could get out there with a camera. But you don't always need a camera. If you don't have enough presence, you're going to miss things. If you're so worried about your equipment or the poison ivy thing on your leg, or your shot list or your gear, the gear list you put together, you're not going to see what's going on around you, and you are going to miss the best shots. I believe it. That you can't see the subtlety if you're rushing around like a what is it that has its head on fire? If you're rushing around like one of those things, whatever that is, then yeah, you won't see what's going on. But it's the subtlety, the small things that make for the best pictures. But you have to be able to see them, and you don't want your images to look clinical and disconnected from reality. You want them to bring home with you that amazing feeling you had when you saw that view or that insect or that person or that weather. It doesn't matter. You're trying to bring that home with you, and if you're receptive to it, you'll get it. What if you have too much presence? That's kind of like wandering around without any kind of direction. And I do this as well, I'm afraid. But sometimes, if you have so much presence in the moment that you forget what you're doing there, then yeah, that can be counterproductive. So it you don't want to become passive, is what I'm saying. This is a process of absorbing the world around you, but it is not passive. It involves getting out there and being ready for it and looking for it and enjoying it with every breath, but not just sitting back and waiting for it to come to you. You still have to walk to the top of the hill to see that view. Get it? If you are so present in the moment that you kind of get distracted by everything that happens, then that is going to be counterproductive in your photography. So you need to be interested and available to what's happening, but not get running off in 100 different directions at once to experience all these other things. This is all about balance and flow, and nothing I'm telling you is unexpected, I'm sure. And if you're doing this wandering around without any clear direction, your pictures are going to reflect that too. They're gonna be incoherent to a greater extent. Healthy presence is it's a sense of motion, which is why I call it flow in my own work. But you are receptive in that flow, meaning the world is not static around you, and you're not examining it. You're in it. You're living in it with your subjects. Goes back to that quote at the beginning. You're actually putting yourself into the scene and interacting with all of this stuff in a very meaningful and personal way. So if you are in that position, then when things happen that are unplanned or very subtle or just beautiful accidents, you'll be receptive to them. You'll be ready for them. In a way, you'll be looking for them, but you'll capture them. And if you are in this state of mind, you'll know, the little voice in your head will tell you to stop fiddling around and take some pictures if you're not doing what you went out there for. So you've got this, you're grounded in purpose while you're doing this. And remain connected. And that's I once told somebody, I just can't do this meditation thing. I tried it for years, actually. And I love the idea of it. It sounds very valuable, but I just couldn't do it because I couldn't keep my mind still enough to do it. Until somebody pointed out that pretty much every time I go out with a camera, I'm meditating for hours. And in retrospect, that's probably true. I do get in that zone, and I do love it. It's why I love photography. So putting it all together is something you can only do with practice. You have to go out there and do it and fail and gradually do it and get some success. But if you're thoughtful about it and you give yourself time and you're not in a rush, and maybe if you have a photographer friend who can join you on a couple of these outings, that does help speed up the process of getting in the right headspace. But what will happen is you will discover that your pictures become much more connected to you. You'll see, just like the viewers of your pictures will see, there is something going on here that's worth looking at because you just can't hide it. And you'll capture all the nuance that you admire in other people's pictures but never seem to be able to get in your own. Once you learn how to do this, how to keep this balance, you'll see it in your portfolio, and so will others. So I don't want to muddy the waters, but I think, does anybody have any experience of going out with a single-minded purpose to do macro photography, and they're going after a certain set of shots, and then had something completely unexpected happen, and it turned out to be one of your best pictures. Can anybody give me an example of that? And if you do, put my name on it so that it lights up in orange and I can see it. But I'd love to know, what did you find, and how did you find it? Because these are so crucial to really experiencing photography. So what I want to do now is oh, we're almost out of time. I did want to tell you all the other P's. I've been working today, and I've had a pad by my hand, and I have been writing down every P word that, well, not every P word, but a lot of them that I thought would be important in this. They're all photographically potent P words, and yeah, they're not in any particular order, but I think every one of them could be in this conversation. So we've done the purpose, that's the why of our photography. We've done the planning, which is how we are going to do it effectively and successfully. And we talked about presence, how to be there, and how to be immersed in the moment and make photography something that's a living reality for us. All right, what about perspective? That can be literal or metaphorical, but understanding the relationship between parts of a scene is what I mean by mindful observation. And yeah, perspective is everything. I mean, when you take a photograph, you are taking a photograph from a unique perspective that is you, and understanding that is how we share it with other people. Perception, the ability to see, not just look. We do a lot of looking, but unless we slow down, it can be hard to actually see anything. Patience. Macro photography, are you kidding me? You don't have patience, you're not a macro photographer. It's any time that you are having to wait on natural rhythms to ebb and flow, to bring you the picture, you have to be patient. And whether that's in your editing or in your outdoor photography or in the studio, it's so important. Precision. We're going to talk about this on Thursday. It is not about perfection. When I say precision, I don't mean perfection. I mean that you have deliberate control over what's going on. That's what I mean by precision, that you can control it. Now, you also determine what is precise and what's not. But whether it's your focus, your exposure, your timing, it's all important that you be precise in those areas, but you do get to define what precise is for your needs. Preparation, same as planning, both begin with P as well, but spare batteries is part of planning, but having an open mind and a relaxed attitude about the whole day, that's preparation as well. Playfulness. You know, we talk all of the time about how we have rules and rules of this and rules of that, and we are very rule based, especially in macro photography, because it's technical and there's a lot of technical stuff to learn. Playfulness is where you'll take that lens you hate and just try to make something with it. It's the fun that you can have while you're also doing serious art out there. You can also be having a good time and breaking the rules. You know, trying something absurd. You never know till you try it. It may be your whole new thing. Performance. Right. The ability to deliver under pressure. Every really, really good macro photographer that I know can somehow get the picture, even when it would drive me crazy. I'd only have a second to do it, and you know, being ready to operate well under pressure with a camera in my hand is not my strong suit. Something I wish it was. Practice. Yep, practice. There's no substitute for it. Unless you're doing it, you're not going to get better at it. So practicing, quiet repetition, you'll get fluent. Persistence, perseverance. Don't give up. If it didn't work the first time, try it again. Passion. You can't make yourself passionate, but to recognize it and to celebrate it. I'm passionate about what I do, or I wouldn't do it. I think it's a crucial P in this mix. Productive. Do it. Do it fairly often, and you'll stand a better chance of doing it well. That's what I mean by productive. Produce some work. Be professional. Yeah, why not? But I have to be, though. Yeah, I'm probably not professional enough, but yeah, it's another good P. Power. Impact, I mean by that. Not power to dominate over anybody or be better than anybody at anything, but power to be able to have an impact with your photographs. Your photographs, the more you can practice these first three P's, the more power will be in your images. Pacing. How to tell a story without burning out. Difficult to do. Principles. We all have artistic, aesthetic, and personal principles. Our photography reflects those. So having a good set of principles will show up, and it's worthwhile to pay attention to them. Prioritization. What's a priority and what's not? If you forget what's most important, you will miss pictures, because it's kind of obvious, isn't it? Projection. Projection in a good way, not in the bad way that the psychiatrists talk about, but projection, putting your heart and soul into the picture. That's what I mean by projection. We can all do it if we slow down and breathe and listen. Pictorialism, kind of scraping the bottom of the P barrel here, but yeah, embracing visual beauty, style, all of these things will improve our photography, but we have to know what they are. Presentation, how you show your pictures, how you frame them, how you print them, all important. Yep, the sequence you put them in, the titles you give them, these are all important in macro photography. What about poetry? Yeah, I don't know anything about poetry. I don't know. I couldn't write a poem to save my life. I can't even read poems and have them make any sense. But there is something poetic and flowing about photography. And yeah, it's probably the closest I'll ever get to appreciating poetry, is appreciating good photography. Process, the whole thing, all the technical stuff, all the lists and the behaviors and the practice and everything that we do. It's all part of the process, and we need it. Process is what everything else hangs off. Nice to be prolific and do a lot of good work. What is this word? Oh, I put poignant. Yeah, poignant. Weighty, significant. If your work is poignant, it will stir emotions in other people. And I don't know what this. Provocative. Provocative. I scribbled it because I was thinking about it as the music was playing. Provocative is a fantastic word for photography. Sometimes it's one of the best things that we can do, is provoke a response in other people. So you know what I'm talking about. We're out of time. No, we're not. We've got 6 minutes left. Well, I actually broke these down into to different categories. All these other P's that I had. I had practical P's like precision, preparation, practice, patience, productivity. What else? Professionalism. And then I had a list of poetic P's: perception, perspective, projection, poetry, kind of obvious, poignancy, and power. Yeah, they're all kind of the emotional resonance of your photographs. And then the personal P's, what keeps us doing this day in and day out. The passion. Yep, being lit from within. Persistence. Prolific, making lots of pictures, some of which might be nice. One of which might be nice, and then it'll still be worth it. Playful. Don't take yourself too seriously. And yeah, don't take me too seriously either. And performative. Know how to do it well when it counts. So, see, I could talk all night about the letter P and what it means to photography. Without it, we'd just have photography, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there are a lot of really cool concepts in there that I think are something I'm glad I thought about this stuff over the weekend, because yeah, it helps to ground me and improves my work. So not that I've been getting much time to do any photography myself, because I'm doing this, and this is a full-time job. So let me see if anybody has something to say. Is practice one of your P words? Yes, it was. It was. I do a lot of drilling practice so I can think about subject, light, composition, and not worry about camera settings, lights, etc. Absolutely. That was, wasn't that a joke? How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Yep. The more you practice, the less you have to think about the technical aspects of what you're doing, and the more you can be in that flow state. I'm glad to say I stopped thinking about camera settings and all that years and years ago, and it does free you up to get creative for sure. Joseph, Thacodia. It's Joseph's favorite order of insects, which is an untruth, because Joseph doesn't have a favorite order of insects. He hates all of insects, even the ones beginning with P. Correct? I don't know what Thacodia are. What are they? Tell me. Oh, pollen. They're not insects. Pollen are not insects, Joseph. You're a clever chap, but you need to learn about insects. The 77 P's of great photography, says Ian. Well, you nailed it. So I was a little... Zeno points out that it was a flow state. P-H-L-O-W. I love it. Pleasure. Painterliness. Yeah. Phylogeny. Praying mantids. Joseph again, no doubt. This is fantastic. And Art points out that I shouldn't let the sound of of your own wheels drive you crazy. That sounds like a line from an Eagles song. Was it the Eagles? Possibly so. Wow. Some really some great comments. Oh, it said chicken with its head cut off, not anything with its head on fire. Sorry, that was I got my metaphors mixed. Not uncommon. Not uncommon. Got a nod for Minor White. Yep, that's going back a ways. And Diving Duck Films reminded everybody to give a thumbs up, which you don't have to do if this was not your cup of tea, of course. But if it was, thank you so much, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Diane, you've got to get back to work and get that stereo picture finished. And yeah, I look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday if you can make it. And if not, I'll see you on Saturday if you can make that. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have for you. I hope that was in some way useful to you tonight. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like getting a little bit philosophical every once in a while. But we're going to be back into the nitty-gritty of tech stuff on Thursday. See you then. Have a great rest of the week. Take care. Good night.